So I just thought I would share a little bit of a wonderful thing that happened this morning for me. Um, some of you may know that I've been trying to work through a very deeply, highly sensitized nervous system, basically different than I've ever had to deal with throughout my entire life. All my life, I've always tried to regulate through very highly sensitive and easily hurt type of emotions, suppress them, have my bawling moments, and all of that kind of stuff. But just emotional and hurt and that kind of thing. And then the last, 10 years with the chronic pain and everything happening from an old whiplash and everything, things began to escalate. And then the chronic pain escalated through the roof, and that created anxiety. And then we lost our son, which created further trauma on top of everything else. And it's been a whirlwind of trying to self-heal. But the last 3.5 years, now, which I started at the end of 2021, working on a self-healing journey, and it has been the best thing that ever happened to me in my life amidst the worst pain and anxiety and crap that I've ever had to go through. It was quite the last number of years, reprogramming, and now being 50, it's like I feel like in that the state where I've done the reprogramming, it's like the best that I've ever been. But on top of it, my body has been still overreacting. And it started at the beginning of this year, unexpectedly. And there was a few different things that's happened, transpired since the beginning of the year. And I won't even begin into explaining it all, but not used to that level of anxiety and trauma sensations coming up in my nervous system like never before. I've had it a lot more since my son passed away, but something escalated even different at the beginning of this year. And I was mentally and thinking, finally, I'm going to start moving more into what, I want to be doing and helping other people and different things. And then I was hit like a Mack truck with these sensations going through my body. And I've been trying to figure out for the last 6 months of this, 5 to 6 months, what in the heck changed that made it escalate so much. I mean, I know that there were certain deep-rooted trigger points in my nervous system, because my system was already wired. That could be very well it. But it's like it's continued, and then something else deeply that went into a deep trauma response again hit me in the beginning of May. And I'm not going to get into all the details of what this is, but it was like, and then the one that hit me in May versus at the beginning of the year was even stronger. And to the point that most of you don't know, is that the last 2.5 months, although you might see posts of me doing things and engaging with people and doing stuff, what you haven't seen is in between those days or in between those posts. So if I had too much stimulation, too many times getting together with people or going out to, like, say, functions at parks or different things, it would take days in between to regulate my nervous system enough where I could function again. It like just knocked me silly, and I won't get into all the details of what those sensations were, but it wasn't normal anxiety. It was to the point like trauma, literally responses happening in my body that were not making sense. And what all triggered this, other than like really deep rooted issues from my childhood, things that I suppressed for many years, that is all coming up, maybe because of the last 10 years of so much happening in my system. I don't know. Maybe it's just coincidence. But what I'm starting to think and wonder lately is because last fall, some of you may have noticed that I had made a post and I had seen a resident doctor, meaning my doctor wasn't available because I needed a quick checkup on my iron levels that were low and everything. So I seen a new doctor that was her resident doctor. And this doctor heard my story and she wanted to try me on a medication. And it was called venlafaxine. And I asked her, I said, I've said no to medication all this time. And she said, well, because you've been trying so many different things and it's not working and you're still having chronic pain. And then on top of that, with the loss of your son and the anxiety and the different traumatic type of things that you're feeling, she said, why don't you just try a medication? We'll start you off at the lowest dose. She said the lowest dose is supposed to first help anxiety, then we'll up it to the second level, and that is supposed to help with chronic pain. And she said we won't go to the third level because that deals with depression. And I didn't have depression. It was anxiety and other traumatic type of things going on in my system. So with that, I thought, well, maybe it's just time to try. You know, I've tried a lot of stuff and a lot of it is working, but you know, it's been years and I'm still working through this. Maybe this will help speed it up a little bit and we'll just see. Maybe it's just time to try this. So I tried it. The first 2 months or a month and a half, I come back for a recheck and I'm like, she's like, you notice any difference? I'm like, nope. I said, when I do my regulating processes and my walks and my mindset changes and my cognitive therapy and like meditation and all that, I said, that works. I noticed that works, but I haven't noticed any difference on the med. So she upped it to the next level. And then in December, I had to have a recheck. But then I was seeing another new resident doctor. And this one asked me the same question. I said, nope, I noticed the difference when I do my practices, but I haven't noticed anything significantly changing at all in my nervous system on this medication. And so I said, you know, I think I just want to go off of it. Thank you for trying, but I'm not going on a medication. I know that my self-therapy works are doing a lot better in this area. So, but because I had a bunch of pills left over and I didn't want to waste them, then she thought, well, maybe, you know, she said, why don't you just up it to the last level, use them till they're gone, increase it and go to the highest level. And then at least you know that you tried the highest level, know whether it would work or not. So I said, what the heck? I'll use up the rest of the meds. I'd never been on meds in my life. So I'm not thinking anything of it. I go ahead and I do it. And then comes January and I decide to go off cold turkey because she never told me that I had to wean off of them. And oh my gosh, 2 nights after I went off cold turkey, I had severe nightmares that night. Every time I closed my eyes, major nightmare. My nervous system went through the roof for the next few days. It was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. But then it finally regulated back down. It seemed like, you know, I was leveling out. But then, you know, I had a funeral that came up about maybe a couple weeks later, and then another big situation came up online, and my nervous system went wing wong, like, I mean, embarrassingly. And some of you might have seen my posts that I just post a lot of stuff. Usually when I'm going through stuff, I share it because it's a way of getting it out. And then I finally get down from that. I start regulating my nervous system again. And then boom, another huge one, but bigger, deep into my nervous system from a deep childhood fear that I always had was surfaced. In the last 2.5 months, I've been barely functioning in between, you know, things. So I had to actually stop my walks because they were flaring me up. And they've never flared me up. And it got to that point where I get halfway through my walk, I'd have to stop. And I had a hard time. And I thought, you know, if this is flaring me up, I'm going to move. Maybe I need to find out what is in the plan for me. What do I need to know? What lesson can I learn to bring me to what maybe I need to do? Trying to find out what is that what am I here to learn? What is the lesson that I can learn through this? And it was basically this: if the pain and everything can turn on, it can turn off. And I'm like, but I never went through this before by myself. I had Ricky, when I was a case study, help me through this rough time. And the thing that happened at the beginning of this summer, on May 1st, it turned that, what Ricky had dealt with, it turned it flare right back on. Like, I mean, not everything that, you know, the other stuff lasted, but the main thing that was in a certain part of my body turned on, and that affects like everything for me. And I was scared. I was really scared. And there was times that I was just like almost in a panic thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I am not a case study anymore. How am I going to get through this? I can't do this. I can't do this. I can barely function. You know, everyone sees my happy posts, but they don't realize what's going on below the scenes of what's going on here. And so I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I need to start practicing more meditation, because obviously my walks aren't doing it. And the discipline for me to settle down and to do meditation on top of my 8.5 kilometer walks and eating healthy and doing all of this stuff, like my mornings would just go so quickly, and it was stressing me out to do all my routines. And what I found that my thing was is that I needed to just regulate back down and start to focus on a different modality. Instead of do. Michelle's got to do. Everything has to be perfect. Every T needs to be crossed. You know what? That's not working no more. And your nervous system is letting you know, and you need to pay attention. And so I've been having to do a lot of meditation practices, which is solely a lot of deep breathing exercises. That's really what meditation is. And relaxation, calming the mind, trying to be more mindful of the present moment, what's going on presently, instead of what's just happened in the past or what you're fearing for the future. And those started to really help me. That's the only thing that was able to get me through this summer, the last couple months or so. And then today I well, it was the other day actually. But I only played with it a bit yesterday because I didn't have as much time and, whatever. But I came across this new breathing technique. And for the last year and a half, I've been doing Wim Hof breath work. And that has really helped my nervous system. I noticed, like, I do it morning and night before I go to bed. And I noticed that if I was too tired and felt like not doing it, if I didn't do it, I had a harder time falling asleep. And so, but when I would do the breath work, I could feel it, how it was calming my nervous system. So I was already doing that for the last year and a half. And then this summer I had to add in a few other techniques in addition to that. So I had a trauma type of meditation that I added in. And then there was another meditation, another type of sound healing with your voice and vibration that I added in. Some of you may have seen that posted a while back. It's kind of like a vagus nerve stimulating type of exercise. And I've been doing those consistently. And then I started feeling a shift happening this month, like the last week, that, okay, something's shifting in this area where I don't have to do all three of those morning and night. Something was beginning to shift. And so I was like, I had found a way to tap into my body with a type of massage, and I don't know how to explain it, but it was an intuitive thing that I tried different. And I won't get into all that, but there was something about it, kind of like a somatic, if you ever heard of somatic type of therapy, it was something like that, tuning into my body where the pain was and just trying to be intuitive that way. And there was something that broke that night with what I did. And I'm not going to get into that detail, but it was just normally, you try to massage it and it's like it hurts more, and it was that area. But this time I was like, this has got to calm down. I have to go somewhere tomorrow and I need to like function, And it was just like the day after Jaden's birthday. And anyways, I had this feeling to just be intuitive with touching in my body and speaking to it and telling it's okay and just to breathe with it. And I don't know how to explain it, but it just started to calm down. It was because like my body knew that I was finally paying attention to it intuitively. I don't know how to explain it. I know that somatic therapy, they explain a lot of this stuff. I have had to learn so much stuff on this journey. It's incredible, the techniques that I'm learning, but I know it's because what I'm supposed to do is help people, but I'm not there yet. I can only do it on the odd friend of mine here and there as it ends up happening in the flow of the moment. And a lot of times it's spur of the moment. But there was that, and then things started to calm down. I was on this high, and there was these beautiful synchronicities that were happening all this week with Jaden's, his birthday, and then with another young man that he was connected with, and I'm not going to get into all the details of that. And then boom, again, on this weekend, I was hit with another big, heavy trigger, not as big as the other ones, but just a big trigger for me. And it started turning that pain right back on. I'm like, no, we can't go there. We've come a long way, baby. We gotta like So when I got, back, I was like spending time in the and just breathing. I had to stay and then just do deep breathing right shortly after this incident took place, and then talk myself down, and then say, okay, what am I supposed to learn in this? What can I change? What do I need to change? Instead of always pointing the finger, sometimes it goes two ways, and just trying to find out, what I'm supposed to learn through all this. And part of it was, basically I've got to learn to let go and let go of what people think of me, letting go of having everything perfect, um, letting go of trying to validate myself or explain myself, and yada, yada, yada. And I had to use the whole next day, which was Sunday, to really regulate again. I had to do a bunch of, the practices and everything just to function again. I'm like, I don't want to recoil. And then, but it didn't seem to get me as much this time because I found a process of how to refocus my mind instead of what was said to me or what I, when something bad happens, how we always internalize and we always see the bad that what someone did or how someone hurt us or, whatever it is, right? We always point the finger. And this time I was like, no, we can't go there. We can't hold on to this. We got to let it go. And I'm still working through stuff, right? I'm still human, and I'm still gonna have to work through this one and every other one that deals with that core issue inside of me that just wants to keep surfacing. But we're working on it. But this morning I wake up. I know this is a long video, but I have a lot to say. And if you don't listen, that's all right. I'm saying it. It's out there for those who do listen. So, So yesterday I tried a different type of breath work, and I'm like, I really like that. But when you're in this deep relaxed zen state, to get back on your phone and you know what I mean? It kind of gets you out of the state, right? And so I did these quick rewinds and stuff. So I think I ended up doubling it at some point, but interruption of constantly rewinding. And then, of course, the interrupting of the practice, and plus I wanted to get on with my day, other things going on. And so, it was late morning getting up or whatever. And this morning I thought, I have a lot of regulation still to do. And it's going to rain today. I'm going to take advantage of this day. So I started off with it says 2 hours, but the last 45 minutes is mostly just music. And it was a meditation called Meditation for Releasing Trauma. It was a whole other new one versus the one that I've always been doing the other way, the other time. And the other one was more of a brain reprogramming program type of a meditation. It was a little bit more different versus this one here. It was like this person was, she had this voice that just kind of soothes you. And I did that one, and that was an hour and 15 minutes. And I wanted to do that to calm my nervous system down for this breathing exercise that I was planning on doing. And this breathing exercise that I was planning on doing, it was double the time of Wim Hof, which I've been doing Wim Hof, just like the beginner level for the last year and a half. And this one here was a lot more different. Let me just say, when I tried it yesterday, I'm like, oh my gosh, I like this one. I've got to implement this more, but it was double the time. And when I first tried it, a few weeks ago, I'm like, it's too long. I have too many other ones that I'm doing. I can't add an extra long one, and then it was like something switched. No, I got to do this. And I decided to put it on repeat this time. Well, I do the 1 hour and 15 minutes of a meditation, which was so relaxing. And then I do this breath work, and it's 25 minutes. And I'm thinking, it's one of the longer ones, but I'm going to do it. It's 15 minutes longer than the Wim Hof, but I know that I want the longer sessions. Well, I'll tell you, it wasn't just longer. I did it 3 times, which is equivalent to 75 minutes. And then on top of that, it played for another 2 times because my body went into such a deep relaxation that I couldn't move. My whole body felt like it was in a sleep mode, but yet my mind was fully awake. And it was the most relaxing therapy. And I'm like, this is the therapy I've been looking for. That I think that I can actually get where I need to be. Now, it might not be like, in weeks or a month or whatever. It may take longer. I don't know. But just in today, the amount of regulation it did in that traumatic type of response that was coming in up in me the last couple of days, it just calmed it right down. Now I know, face it again, it's gonna probably want to come back up. I know there's a lot of work in there still to do, right? And I say trauma, but I don't mean that it was a trauma. It was just a trigger, okay, that produces feelings like that. And it's hard to explain it to someone who hasn't experienced it. So only some of you will get that. The rest of you will be like, what do you mean trauma? Like whatever. You don't get it, you don't get it. It's okay. You'd rather not learn it firsthand. Just let me tell you that much. But anyways, it has been the best breathing technique I have ever come across that I can do myself without a trained therapist. And I'm so damn excited. Because the thing with this one is that it was addictive. It was addictive to practice it. So here, before I was thinking, well, I just want to get the exercises done so I can move on with my day. Well, just one session of this one, my body didn't want to move. I wanted to stay there and do it again because it felt so good. And anyways, it's beautiful. So if you want the link for it, of course I'll provide it. But yeah, anyways, I'm excited because I see this as a next stage of my healing. And then the day that I had this extra trigger happen on the weekend, the things that I was wearing that day, it was like, from the other side, like it's the week of Jay's week, and I was trying to figure out, how does this happen on this week where it's been all synchronicities and it's been, like whatever. And I look at my shirt and it says it's written in the stars. And then on both of my wrists that day, I wore Jaden's, the bracelet that says his name, and the other bracelet that I wore was his, and it says seek discomfort. That day that I got hit again with that emotion. And that, when I was going to bed that night after I had done my regulating, I came into my room and I noticed, and I'm like, behind the scenes, there it is again. He was letting me know, Jaden, his name was on my bracelet, he's there. Remember, Mom, seek discomfort. It's written in the stars. In other words, the message for me is that the worst hell that we can go through in pain and all of this trauma and all this crap that I'm going through, it's teaching me something. It's teaching me something about the way I got to change. Because when I internalize all those hurtful feelings and rejections and stuff like that, it puts my system through the roof where I can't function. And if I wasn't doing what I've been doing the last 3.5 years, I know this could go into something a lot more serious. It's that type of sensations going on in my body. And it's like I'm learning the tools because I'm determined to find ways to self-heal. And I'm keep being open and looking for what is it that I can change about me instead of pointing the finger at other people when I feel hurt from them. What is it that I've got to change in me instead of pointing there? And changing the dynamic. And then the other thing is, if my pain can turn off, my pain can turn off. If my pain can turn on, it can turn off. It's to find what it is in the nervous system that caused it to turn on in the beginning, and then find the practices that were going to help calm that and teach the nervous system that it's okay and it's safe. It's been a hell of a lot of work, but I can only imagine where I'd be if I did not start the processes myself. Looking for anyone else to do it for me. I've pretty much given up on anybody else being able to do it for me. It's inner work. It's an inner job with other people helping me along the way, yes. But the main person that's got to do the work is right here. I can get all the tips in the world, but if I don't implement them myself, I ain't going nowhere. So I'm just excited about that. I am not saying that I've dealt with all of this. No, it's still there, but it's moving, it's shifting. And this new practice, I'm very excited about to see where it's going to bring me. And if you listen to all this video, I would like to know, send me a note in the comments. I know sometimes some of you in the past have like private messaged me that you watched it all, because maybe you don't want it to be public. Other people are like, we'll share either way. Sometimes I don't hear anything, and that's because I'm long-winded. But I share what I share because I like documenting things, but in this case, I want to let other people know that no matter what you are going through, you can get through this. But it changes first here in our thoughts and in our mindset, and then doing the work, even if it's a little step at a time. So I'll leave that with you, sending you love, peace, and all of that wonderful stuff, and take care. Bye.